Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're
Oh,
heading to Ghana. Their presidential election is coming up soon, and it's going to be a close one,
yeah, no doubt. It's a really pivotal moment for them. Two completely different visions for the country.
for sure. Okay, so on one side, we have incumbent Vice President Mahamadou Bawumia. He's running with the New Patriotic Party, and his big thing is, well, digital innovation, using that for economic recovery.
Right, his platform is pretty interesting. He's actually promising to train like 1 million young Ghanaians in digital skills. Big promise. But how does that really, how does that translate into jobs in Ghana specifically?
Yeah, I mean, does Ghana need 1 million people with digital skills? Like, what jobs are they going to be doing? It's one thing to say digital skills, but what are those skills?
That's the big question. And it's a problem lots of countries are dealing with, right? Like tech is advancing so fast. How do we make sure it actually benefits everyone, not just, making inequality worse? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of things that need to be fixed, Ghana's economy, well, it's not in the best shape right now. They're actually under an IMF bailout program.
Yeah, I can't forget about that. They had to default on some of their debt. That's why this election is so important. It's really about the economy. We've got this great article from Deutsche Welle, by the way. It really shows how much this is on voters' minds.
Okay, so let's talk about this IMF bailout. Like, what does it mean for Ghana? How does it affect what these candidates are even proposing to do about the economy?
Well, IMF programs, they usually come with strings attached, right?
Yeah.
Austerity measures, all these reforms. It really limits what a government can spend money on, social programs, things like that. Both Bawumia and his opponent, former President John Dramani Mahama, they have to figure out how to deal with that whole situation.
And Mahama, he's running with the National Democratic Congress. And this is actually his third try for the presidency. So he's pushing this 24-hour economy idea, right? Thinks that'll boost growth and jobs.
Yeah, keep everything running all the time, more productivity, more jobs. That's the idea. But how do you actually do that? Practically speaking, think about it. Transportation, security, what about childcare? And people need to sleep.
Exactly. And is there even enough demand to keep businesses open all night? I mean, who's buying groceries at 3 a.m.? I don't know. It's a bold idea, but is it the right one for Ghana?
Right, exactly. It would be a huge change. And not just like a little change, a big societal shift. So, yeah, is it the right fit for Ghana? That's the question. And then you have to look at the voters, too. The DW article quotes a couple of them. These guys are undecided, and they're not buying it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kwaku and Ponsa and Isaac Isu, right?
Yeah, them. Ponta said something like, nothing promising about their promises. And Isu, he's so fed up he might not even vote. They're tired of the talk. They want to see real plans.
It makes you wonder, right? Are these big fancy promises really speaking to everyday Ghanaians? Or are they looking for something, I don't know, something more down to earth?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a real challenge for both these guys. How do they rebuild that trust? Because voters are disillusioned, you know. They've heard it all before.
And on top of that, there's all this drama happening in Ghana's parliament. They had a hung parliament after the last election in 2020. No one had a majority.
Right. And it's gotten even more complicated now. 4 MPs just switched sides or decided to run as independents in this election.
Oh, wow. So what happened? Did they get kicked out?
Well, yeah, kind of. There's this rule in the Constitution about switching sides in the middle of a term. So the Speaker of Parliament, he just declared their seats vacant.
Wait, so they're out just weeks before the election. That's pretty intense.
It definitely stirred things up. Some people think the Speaker went too far, you know. Others say, nope, he was just following the rules. But whatever the reason, it's chaos in Parliament right now.
So does all this chaos actually affect the election? Like, will one party get a clear majority this time? Is that more likely now?
It could happen, yeah. Voters might just want stability, a government that can actually get things done.
That makes sense. So are these guys even talking about this in their campaigns? Bawumia and Mahama, I mean. Are they promising to, fix the political climate?
It's something to watch for as we get closer to the election, for sure. You'd think they'd see this as a chance to appeal to voters, right? Everyone wants stability, effective government.
Yeah, it seems like there's so much more at stake here than just, picking Bawumia or Mahama. It's about what kind of parliament they'll have, what direction Ghana's going to go in.
Exactly. Voters are deciding on their leader, but also what kind of parliament they want. One that can handle these big challenges, one that can actually get things done.
Okay, before we go, we got to talk about taxes. Both Bawumia and Mahama, they've both said they'll cut taxes, right?
They have, yeah. Both promised to get rid of some unpopular taxes,
Mm-hmm.
like the tax on betting and the one on electronic transfers.
So they're both, what, trying to appeal to voters, make them happy. Makes sense. It's a close race. But I wonder, is that really going to win over those undecided voters, the ones we were talking about, like Kwaku and Isaac? They seem pretty skeptical of everything.
Good question. It all comes down to whether voters believe them, right?
Mhm.
Do they think these guys can actually deliver on their promises? That's what it comes down to.
Well, this is already shaping up to be a fascinating deep dive, and we've only just scratched the surface. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll keep exploring this election and what it means for Ghana's future.
It's crazy how important trust is in this election, right?
Mm-hmm.
The economy, the parliament, and then on top of it all, the voters just don't believe anything anymore. It's a lot going on.
You know what's interesting? Ghana has this great track record with elections, peaceful transitions, you know? They've really set the standard for their whole region. Do you think this election is getting extra attention because of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The world's watching. I mean, what happens in Ghana could affect other countries nearby, too. And for Ghana itself,
Yeah.
it's a real test of their democracy. Can they keep it going strong?
So we're getting down to the wire here. Just a few weeks left. What are you most curious to see? What are you keeping an eye on?
For me, it all comes back to trust. Can these guys, Bawumia and Muhammad, can they go beyond just talking? Do they have real solutions? Ones that will actually work for people like Kwaku and Isaac, who are just tired of empty promises?
Yeah, those undecided voters, they're going to decide this whole thing, aren't they?
Exactly. And then there's the parliament. Can either party win a majority? Or are we going to see another hung parliament? Because if that happens, it'll just be more gridlock, more instability. Ghana really can't afford that right now.
We talked about peaceful transitions, but have there been times when hung parliaments have actually caused problems? Like, historically, what happens?
Well, yeah, there are definitely examples where things just ground to a halt. Nothing gets done, no laws get passed. Sometimes the whole government collapses. And they have to have new elections. Not ideal, especially if you're trying to fix an economy.
That makes sense. So beyond trust, beyond the parliament, anything else you're watching for?
Well, I'm interested in how the economy plays out, too. Both candidates have their plans, but will voters buy them? Will this digital vision or the 24-hour economy, will either one actually work?
Or maybe voters want something totally different, right? Maybe they're not even focused on the economy. Maybe there's something else they care about more.
Yeah, could be. Maybe social issues, infrastructure, education. Who knows? That's what makes this election so exciting. Anything could happen.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about. It's more than just an election, isn't it? It's about where Ghana's headed. The economy, the political system, everything. And what the people want, their hopes for the future.
It really is. And you know what I find amazing? Ghana is facing all this head on. And they're doing it democratically. It's not always pretty, it's unpredictable, but ultimately, it's the people who decide. It's powerful.
It is, and it's easy to take that for granted. Democracy is a journey, not a destination, right?
Right.
We all have to participate to make it work.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to hear from you, the listener. What are you thinking? What stands out to you? What's the most important thing in this election?
And maybe even more importantly, what kind of leader does Ghana need right now to face these challenges, to really succeed in the future? It really makes you think, what does any country need to really thrive? Not just get by, but do really well.
Especially a country like Ghana, right? They have so much going for them. A young population, growing economy. They're committed to democracy.
Yeah, but how do you turn that potential into progress? Is it all about the economy or social stuff? Or is it about the leader themselves? What makes a good leader?
Probably a bit of everything, right? You need someone who can bring people together, make tough calls when they have to, but also, actually listen to people. Someone who gets the whole global scene, but also, puts their own people first.
And Ghana's a really diverse country, right? Lots of different cultures, different ideas. Everyone's got their own experience. It must take a special kind of leader to make that work, to get everyone moving in the same direction.
Totally. You need someone who can handle those differences, find common ground, make people feel like they're all part of something. Someone who can tap into that, the energy of the people, what they want for their country.
It's amazing how this one election brings up all these huge questions. I feel like we've learned a lot about Ghana, not just about the election itself, but about the bigger picture.
I agree. And the thing is, they're dealing with it all right out in the open. Democratically, it might be messy, it might be unpredictable, but that's what makes it so powerful. It's the people deciding their future.
So well said. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think that's a perfect thing to keep in mind. Keep watching what happens in Ghana, stay curious about the world, and remember, We all have a part to play. Thanks for joining us.
It's been great diving in with you.